Hello everybody, this is Dr. Kevin Connors again, coming back at you with another Understanding Your DNA video to help you understand your 23andMe and the presentation that we give back, your SNP report or your genetic report, which is a report of all the genetic defects or variants that you may or may not have based upon your 23andMe analysis. So this presentation we are going to go over methylation and how that methylation, the folate cycle, affects your body and the SNPs that we're going to be looking at in that methylation folate cycle. So this preassumes that you've already done your 23andMe. If you haven't, go ahead and go on 23andme.com and order that. That's separate from this. You have to order that directly from their lab. Order the large one, the $199 one. That's the current price. It might change when you're listening to this, but don't get their less expensive one because we need all the genetic SNPs that we can get to give you the best picture. Does it make sense? So methylation is something you hear about a lot. MTHFR is maybe some letters that you've heard. You've seen Facebook pages on MTHFR. MTHFR stands for methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase, which is a gene that makes methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase enzyme to break down 5,10 methylene tetrahydrofolate into 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate. Now, it's very confusing. Don't try to memorize that. But that specific gene, the MTHFR gene, was one of the first that was discovered, and there's been a lot of emphasis on that. Matter of fact, a lot of people call our office and say, oh my gosh, my son has an MTHFR defect. You know, this is crucial. This is very dangerous. It is crucial, and it is, you know, important to understand that, but you'll see, you know, that there's a lot of genes that we're looking at, and the MTHFR gene is simply one of them. And to supplement or to use specific nutrition based upon one gene, in my opinion, is a gross misrepresentation of genetics, and it's ignorance, I believe, and it can be extremely harmful, as we'll talk about. So the methylation pathway, this folate pathway that we're looking at, is this right here. Thank you, Dr. Ben Lynch and SeekingHealth.org for putting together this beautiful little graphic. But this graphic here talks about the folate cycle. Folates from green leafy vegetable foliage, and folic acid. So let's first understand the difference between folate and folic acid, because this is a huge misconception in our nutritional picture. So we have occasionally we have people bring in a supplement that say, you know, their question is this a really good supplement to take? And you look at the supplement and it has folic acid as one of the ingredients. What is folic acid? I thought folic acid was really good for you. I thought pregnant women need folic acid. It's really important that they get folic acid because it prevents neural tube defects in babies, which is a genetic defect. Folic acid, by definition, is synthetic folate. Synthetic folate. So the main source of folate in a person's diet is foliage, green leafy vegetables. However, grains also have folate in it. And at the turn of the last century, in the early 1900s, 1920s, 30s, 40s, that was the onset of the use of refined flour. And refined flour takes off the outer hull of the wheat, the germ of the wheat, and that's where folate is found in grains. So the average American diet at that time was mainly white bread, biscuits, white flour. Green leafy vegetables was not a typical American diet at the time. So the women that were pregnant were deficient in folate. And a deficiency in folate could cause a neural tube defect. Well, that was discovered that this deficiency in folate caused neural tube defects. So instead of encouraging people to eat foliage, to eat salads, to go back to whole wheat instead of white flour, they synthesized folate in the laboratory and called it folic acid. So folic acid is synthesized folate. Now, like so many other synthetic nutrients, they don't work the same in the body. Matter of fact, it's hypothesized that folic acid, synthetic folate, since it's in so many things and it's put in so many, it's in your cereals now, it's in so many vitamins, it's in all prenatal vitamins, it's theorized that it's actually the synthetic folate, the synthetic folic acid, that is the cause of the rise of this MTHFR defect, which is significant in a person's health. So this is the MTHFR defect, like most of the defects in the genes, are epigenetic defects. That means environmentally controlled effects on your genes. And the environmental effect on the MTHFR gene, it is believed, is the increased use of synthetic folic acid. So with the advent of folic acid, it actually causes an MTHFR defect, and the MTHFR defect causes a whole bunch of possible scenarios in a person's health. A decreased ability to methylate is the key piece because you're not making methyl tetrahydrofolate as well. And that affects your ability to detoxify, especially large chemicals like vaccinations. So a child with an MTHFR defect, in my opinion, should not be vaccinated because they can't detoxify it very well. Plus you look at the PON pathways and the cytochrome P450 pathways and the NAT pathways. If they have defects in those pathways, in my opinion, it is abuse to vaccinate a child because you are greatly increasing the risk of brain issues and liver issues because they won't be able to detoxify the adjuvants in the vaccination. So it is with exposure to other chemicals too. Follow me? So you do not ever want to take a supplement that says folic acid and nothing else. If it just says folic acid, it's made with synthetic folic acid. Some supplements, because the term folic acid has been so prevalent, will say folic acid in a parentheses as folate. Then that's fine. Or they'll say folic acid, parentheses, as methyl tetrahydrofolate. That's fine then. Okay? So they're using the right form of folate. That's how you can tell. There's little hints when you look at supplements. There's little hints whether they care or not. So how do they chelate the minerals? You can tell if they care or not. What type of folate are they using? You can tell if they care or not. What type of B12 are they using? You can tell if they care or not. Because there is like 500 articles published on this stuff. I mean, it's not that it's not known. It's just that synthetic folic acid is a whole lot cheaper than using a good folate. So, when you're governing, okay, we save 12 cents a bottle of supplements here, and equate that out to how many bottles of supplements that we're going to sell over the course of the year, that's $2 million, and you govern your decision based upon your income, you're going to make bad decisions. Okay? So, knowing some of these things is helpful. That's why I tell you this. Don't ever, 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 ever consume folic acid. Now, I say that a little tongue-in-cheek because you can't, there's so many things that have folic acid in it, like enriched flour. So if you're going to go eat a donut somewhere at a store, okay, well, you should probably do that anyhow, but let's say if you did, it's got synthetic folic acid in it because they used enriched white flour for that donut. So you're going to consume some folic acid. You certainly don't want to buy a supplement and pay for a supplement that is using folic acid. So initially, for me, if I look at anybody's supplements, and you could easily look at your own supplements, and if you see folic acid and it doesn't say as something else, then you shouldn't be consuming that supplement, nor should anybody else, nor should your dog. So, side note there, but an important side note. Folate pathway is super important because the end point of the folate pathway is to actually make methyl tetrahydrofolate, which is your methyl group donator that feeds into the methionine cycle and feeds into the biopterin cycle to produce SAMe, which is your main methyl transfer group for your whole body, which turns, what does that mean? Well, that turns genes on and off, so it's really, really super important. And it feeds into the biopterin pathway that ends up making all your neurotransmitters. So this is an important pathway. We don't want to put too much emphasis on any one given gene. So when a patient calls, or a potential patient, says, oh my gosh, little Jimmy's got an MTHFR defect, he's going to die. Okay, little Jimmy's not going to die. But you have to know some things, and we need to support some things, and we need to look at the whole big picture. It's not just about one gene, okay? It never is. It's never just about one thing. It's looking at the big picture. So calm down. Let's do this right. Does that make sense? So look at in this picture. In this picture right here, each one of these bubbles. So the top says reduced folates and folic acid. Goes on through these three genes, the FOLR1, FOLR2, and these other genes. All these gene bubbles are a family of genes. Sometimes there's just one gene in that gene family, and sometimes there's 25. So it's bigger than just one gene snip. That's why I really recommend that you get the whole 23andMe done, so we can look at all these and not just go and run a genetic test on the MTHFR. Okay, that doesn't give you a real good picture. So hopefully, looking at these videos and stuff, you're getting that just for me a little bit. So when we look at your personalized genetic report under the MTHFR heading, the folate pathway, you're going to see this one first, these three first genes, this FOLR1, 2, and 3. Now this person, pretty good. They got a single allele defect just on one of them. Pretty good. That's really, don't have a problem converting folate to the next a compound in the pathway, which is dehydroxyfolate. So no real big problem here. If a person has defects there, we want to deal with that and we want to support that. Then the next pathway is the MTHFR gene. There's 5 in that family. This person has one double allele defect on one of those genes. Not real bad, so pretty good. It's not uncommon for us to see, especially like chronic Lyme patients, to have defects in all 5 of these. This is a very important gene. Matter of fact, this one might be, in my book, even a little bit more important than the MTHFR gene. And so commonly overlooked and not even looked at. So this gene needs to be supported if there's a lot of defects in there. So again, the big picture of the pathway, down at the bottom at that red arrow is this MTHFR gene, which maybe too much emphasis put on that one. That gene has some in its family, and those are the genes that you're going to look at in the box on the right of your screen there. The most researched of all the genes is that one, the bottom one of those 5, the MTHFR C677T, and this person has a single allele defect there. Because there's so much research on this gene, a single allele defect has been determined that the average person with a single allele defect is going to have about a 35% reduction of the function of that gene. Now this C677 typically drives the methionine pathway, which we're going to talk about in the next presentation. And that's the pathway that you really put out SAMe. That's where you're going to really make your methyl transfer group. The 1298, the one right above it, where this person doesn't have a defect at all, mainly pushes the biopterin pathway. But there's multiple genes in this pathway, so we want to look at all of them. So again, the emphasis of the folate and the methylation pathway is to look at the big picture. It's not just one gene. So hopefully that helps you understand. When you get your report, you're going to see many times I don't support this pathway first. We want to go slow, and this is one we want to support maybe a little bit down a few months. That's a common approach that we want to take. Versus some other doctors will, oh, you got an MTHFR defect, we got to get you on methyl tetrahydrofolate. I think that's a mistake because that will really push the biopterin pathway quite quickly. If you have defects there, you're going to have some emotional outbursts and some emotional swings because of that. You have to be careful of that. Again, if you're watching this video and you haven't seen any of the other ones, to become a full patient, you want to follow the full steps, and we want to just differentiate between that and understand the 23andMe agreements and what you're receiving with this. We want to help as many people as we possibly can, and I know by making it kind of automated like this and making videos, I'm hoping that we're going to be able to help a lot more people. So spread the news about what we're trying to do. I don't care if you share these videos. I don't care if you let other people see them where they didn't pay for it. I don't care. Just give away our information. And I encourage you to go on our website and download our books as well. They can be extremely helpful. So thank you very much. This is the kind of report you're going to get back. And don't be surprised just because you have an MTHFR defect that I'm not suggesting we start by supporting that right away. The other genes are sometimes more important to support, and making sure those pathways are clear before you start giving methyl groups. But that's my opinion, and because I've done it the wrong way too. So we want only the best for you. All right, you're going to look at the other videos if those are issues for you too, and I wish you the best. Bye-bye.